Rahobat, greetings. Welcome again to the Actual Facts channel, and this is the Actual Facts podcast. Today, of course, I'm bringing you a very incredible episode, a topic that has not been discussed. So this is the first time you're going to hear it here on the Actual Facts podcast. And the reason is very simple. No one has this information like us. Our Heavenly Father in flesh, His Excellency, Dr. Malachi Z. York, Panabab Yanun, is the one responsible for bringing us this information from our ancestors, our spiritual science of Wu Sabat. And traditionally, in the beginning of our episodes, I always, by tradition and by culture and by just the acknowledgement of who's responsible for this incredible affirmation, the Heavenly Father in flesh, Panabab Yanun, has revealed and written over 1,500 books. For those that are just tuning in, our podcast, our episodes are based on this affirmation, these actual facts. And, it's a blessing in this day and time to be sitting here giving and sharing this affirmation because the world needs it. When you look around the world and you see what's taking place, what's being exposed with this extraterrestrial information that people are trying to catch up to, trying to find out more about it. Our father has been teaching this since 1970. So we're pretty much ahead of the curve when it comes to this affirmation and how things work within the universe as it relates to this specific topics. Now, we cover many, many topics. This is episode 20. So if you are just tuning in, feel free to check out the previous episodes. A lot of great reviews, a lot of questions were answered that people didn't have a clue about, where to find it. The religious world has failed people. Science is only limited. And so because we are blessed to have the Hutui, our Father incarnated in flesh in this day and time, to teach us, our job and duty is to pass on this information. Now, as you can see, the title, Exotic Matter, right? Liquid Gold, Mafkuzat, ET space travel, and quantum entanglement. Now, this is Mafkuzat is a substance that has some exotic characteristics to it, and it is found in various parts of the universe, multiple parts of the universe. Actually, it's a part of the fabric of the universe. And so we'll get into this high science and what Wu Sabat is teaching us, and how you need to know this information so you can prepare for this day and time. All of this doctrine that we're expressing and teaching, right, and lecturing on will help you, benefit you spiritually, mentally, right? And so this is vital. And as we go up the ladder, what I'm noticing is that we have to take it a step higher by explaining this information that no one has, because as I told you before, I told you that people will be copying and trying to follow exactly what we're doing because they're running out of information to talk about. They don't have the answers to questions about the universe, about the multiverses, about the various parts of the human body, the human being that is junk DNA that can't be explained. The telomeres, which are responsible for your extended life, they can't explain how to extend them. People, scientists, religious world, clergy, no one. You can comb through the internet and you won't find the so-called conscious community or conscious teachers teaching about this. Is because they're locked in a limited space and their minds haven't been expanded as we have. And we're just blessed to have that in our job because of the various teachings. And this lecture particularly will cover, as we always do, cover specific books that you all need and have access to. You have access to them through myself, right? You can email, as many have done. You can speak to, in this chat, you can chat with others that have received the publications, have guided to the bookstores, and where they can get these publications. It's not something that's difficult to find. What it is that we are the ones that this Actual Facts podcast is responsible for getting it to the world. No one that knows about these publications, the so-called conscious teachers who have taken this doctrine and use it for their platforms, they won't give the Father his credit. But we don't need them to give the Father their credit. It's going to be evident when they obviously run out of answers and things to talk about. We'll be there to pick up and make sure that those that have been guided in this direction, that you'll have the complete story with facts based. It's not opinionated. It's not a belief system. We're not dealing with those lesser mysteries. We're dealing with higher mysteries and higher information that can be confirmed, because this is the day and time we're in. So for those that are just tuning in, I appreciate you all. To all the subscribers and everyone that's sharing, please share. It has been an incredible journey, and I'm looking forward to continuing moving forward with this journey. And your questions, if you have any questions, please write it down. You may put it at the end of the lecture, maybe close to the end. I'll be able to look into the chat and answer those questions for you the best of my ability. If I can't answer it directly off my head from the references that's available, I'll find it, because this is what we do and this is our job. So this Mafkuzat, what is it? What is this exotic matter? These questions have been coming up because when I'm watching these news channels and watching these ET files and seeing people talk about extraterrestrials, etc., I realize that human beings are limited. And because we've experienced extraterrestrials, yes, which our Father is a being incarnated from Risk Ilion, which is a tri-solar star system that exists where advanced beings called Riskians or Morzakhu live and exist. They are advanced intelligent beings, and many beings exist throughout the multiverses, but there's species that are responsible for human creation, African creation, Caucasoid creations, as well as the Hindus and other Dravidian seeds, as well as the Asian seeds. So we have covered as much as we can. We can't go into it, all ties in, but we try to lock in on the specific topic, so we don't, obviously our job to make sure that everyone receives this in an organized manner. And you can go back to other topics in other lectures where the interest of a specific title may interest you and you want more information on that. But here right now with this one, episode 20, I hope you appreciated the last one, episode 19. A lot of great reviews from the neuroplasticity, the new beings which you are transforming yourself into by digesting this information. You're transforming yourself into a new type of being, because you're learning the things that they cannot teach you. The other races can't teach you. And it's not racism. They just don't know the magnificence of who you are. They don't know your creators. They don't know what your deities gave you and how they genetically bred you and placed their genes in you. And inside of you, there's a specific matter that was there, but through breeding and through your food and through other activities, you've lost this liquid gold, a part of your genetics. And we're going to cover what it is and how it affects you. But I want to show you the publications first. So when you email, okay, the books that I saw that you spoke about in episode 20, I would like information about it. Then this one, this is, as you can read it, Pa Kadash Shalel Nagam at Wu Pa Mafkuzat, the secret tones, right? I don't want the glare. That's it. It's a master secret. Now we do talk about actual facts a lot, but this one, these are I'm coming from master secrets specifically because they are secrets. And these are the master secrets that he's bestowing upon his children. So this is the secret tones and the Mafkuzat elixir of life. The secret tones are the octave, or the let's say do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, the 8 tones that create a harmonic octave for the transferal of information throughout the multiverse. It's done through tones, right? It's done, all information is passed throughout the universe through tones. Some tones are invisible to you, probably not invisible, that's sight, are inaudible to you because of the hertz that it exists on, but they still there. Vibrations are not felt necessarily by you, but vibrations also have tones there. You can't hear vibrations all the time on a molecular level, DNA level. DNA has a tone. Your cells have a tone. Babies have they when they come from the spiritual world, born, they still vibrate on A, which is FAC, which are the tones of nature, the human body, and the cosmos, and the planet Earth. These are the tones that we'll discuss as well. But this is what this master secret speaks about. I applaud you all. Email me for it. It's an incredible work that the fathers placed out. This one is Pazayet Hakati. With the language you hear is Sabbatic. So it's our language, right? The language of Sabians, the Wapians, your tone that you lost, you learn, and we'll get into the language as well. We do have that's necessary for you to understand exactly what our deities are sending out and giving us. But this one is the ultimate reality. We're going to discuss this as well because that affirmation comes out of this publication as well. And we're going to touch on two Patrak, right, which is the way, the golden children, incredible, and dimensional shift. We did a dimensional shift lecture, I think 14, no, it's further back down. I don't know the name. I meant the number of the lecture, but it was definitely dimensional beings, right? So we're going to cover those. Now, what is this Mafkuzat and why is it important? Why is it important to your transformation? And as we walk through, we're going to go up the ladder and try and make sure that things are crystal clear. But Mafkuzat is what you call a liquid. It's a liquid gold. It's a monatomic. There are monatomic elements that exist on the periodic table. If you're familiar with chemistry, most of us have the basic education from their system, right? You can learn science from them because it's fact-based. The Father teaches us you can learn math from them because it's fact-based. You can learn science from them because it's fact-based. You can also learn certain fact-based subjects, history, religion, other things you stay away from because a lot of it has, let's say, opinionated stories and doctrines and fables that's tied in that come across as factual when it's detrimental to you as a new being, as a Nuwapian. So in the subject of the periodic tables, there's what you call monatomic elements there that have the ability to exist not in altered states, more so a powdered state. So monatomic, there's 8 monatomic elements that we're going to talk about, and the 8 ties into the tones that we're going to discuss. So let's go down the list of these monatomic elements and what properties they have that existed as a secret formula. This was a secret formula that mortals around the world, ancient times, even to this day, have looked to try to find where exactly it is because of its magical powers. And it's only magical because the chemistry and how it's involved with space and bending space-time, space distortion, which we'll talk about in quantum entanglement and quantum physics. There's something called quantum entanglement, quantum fusion. There's a different quantum subjects that ties into this Mafkuzat and how this quantum activity is possible. And when it comes to advanced technology, particularly these extraterrestrial beings that you see zipping in and out of this atmosphere, appearing out of nowhere, disappearing, they are familiar with this liquid gold and this Mafkuzat, this secret formula. But the Father, as who he is, as God in flesh on this planet in this day and time, the master of heaven and earth, giving us this knowledge, you'll be aware when you hear about extraterrestrials, you'll be well aware and ahead of what the layman doesn't know, and hopefully you'll share it to others so they'll be aware of it. Now, these monatomic elements, 7 of them are platinum. If I'm heard, if I can be heard, please let me know if I'm clear. I don't know if I'm heard. If I'm clear, just make sure I'm good. All right, just put in the chat if you can. Put in the chat, yes. Put in the chat, I'm clear, I'm audible, right? Okay, very good. That's what I need to know. So gold, okay, 7 of these are platinum metals, or let's say platinum metals because they're silver type. These are platinum 1, which is 78. Then you have iridium, which is another monatomic element. We're going to go through 8. Rhodium, RH, this is 45. That's 45. It's 45 on a periodic table. You have osmium, which is this is symbol is OS 76. Palladium, right? Palladium is 46 on the periodic table. Silver, Ag, which is 47 on the periodic table. And ruthenium, which is 44, that's on the periodic table. And gold, obviously, which is Au 79. Now, these are on the periodic table, and these are transition metals, meaning they can transition between solid, liquid, and powder. And what's incredible about these chemicals, let's say not chemicals, this formula is that it can be digested in a specific form. It has to be a single atom form, though. In this single atomic elemental form, it's in a monatomic state. I mean, mono, one, right, alone, by itself. In a monatomic state, it can be digested and it can activate your DNA. And each particular element activates your DNA in a specific way. The physical body responds to these particular metals in an incredible way that it transforms you into a deity. And this is the purpose of it. And this is why when you look at ancient Mafkuzat, ancient Egypt, you'll often see a chalice or a cup, right, being offered up to maybe an initiate, right? These are the secrets on the walls that they don't know because we didn't write this information down. It was in the gold, it was in the genes of Panatharu, it was in the genes of our ancestors. This is what gave them their heightened ability, their ability to perceive worlds and have senses that you're not aware of, particularly the barytheric gland, which was removed from you, was used to produce this hormone, this formula, this Mafkuzat. And it would produce it along with the other glands, your endocrine system, to affect your being, where you can put on an entire celestial light body, because it would activate all of your genes harmoniously within these 8 tones that correlates with these 8 elements. Now, and we're going to go through those tones as well for those musicians that are here, you don't necessarily have to be a musician, but you can understand the basic keys of harmony, and we'll get into that and how it ties in. And we have to cover this. That's why our lectures are so long sometimes, because we can't leave no stone unturned. And we want to make sure on record that you heard it here first, because people will talk about it. You hear these guys, I don't want to mention their names, but they often bring up, use our doctrine and then reword it and retangle it and try to, but that's not going to happen, because you only can get that from these publications. So make sure you get those publications first from us, right? The actual facts from the Father. Now, what are these transitional? Okay, let's go back. So I mentioned those 8. So the question is, what do these transitional metals do, right? How do they perform? What are their properties? Well, gold with transitional metals, right, are metals that can be, like I said, they can be transferred between different states. And because interdimensional travel, because everyone says you want to go to heaven, right? But they don't tell you that heaven is a place somewhere that you need to travel. How do you travel in space without the astronaut gear or the, let's say, without a spacecraft, without a shuttle, right? This mystical spookism that they've been teaching in religion, where they say, well, heaven is in a bowl, and they don't explain it. How will you get there? They don't explain it. Will you be physical? They don't explain that. So the Father explains that in order for you to be transformed and taken up, because this is the day and time where the time to prepare for your rapture to be taken up to the heavens. This planet is going to go through a reconstruction period, and if you're chosen as one of the 144,000, you'll be taken up, but you must know this information. So this, and the monatomic elements, because they are transfer or between, the word, right, bayin, which is between, these are key Sabbatic words that we'll introduce as well. Bayin means between. So these monatomic elements can be transferred between the physical world and the spiritual world. They have a spiritual counterpart, and it's an exotic matter that transitions between these states. Now, when these elements are in a single elemental form, meaning one atom, once it's taken in whatever form, it can be taken in through the powder, right? Which we'll talk about. We are talking about it. We'll talk about from a particular book, from the past book that was written by the Father, known as Man of Miracles in This Day and Time, when he he showed this Mafkuzat in a powder form in a Sufi attire that he was wearing. And in this Man of Miracles publication, there were many people who were expressing how they saw the many miracles that the Father had performed, and one of them was the manifestation of the sacred ass that appeared to come out of nowhere. At the time, in the school of Islam, we didn't understand exactly how it manifested, but him explaining it because of the transitional capabilities, it would appear out of thin air. It wasn't that it was appearing out of thin air. It was more so that this exotic matter is all around you, and it's within the universe, and it's in what they call dark matter. This is the secret matter that physicists, you'll find Neil Greason or some of these physicists are just now talking about it, where they're saying dark matter is an invisible matter that is responsible for keeping the universe in fit form. And they know it's a literal fabric and a matter there is because of space-time distortion. And they explain this space-time distortion by the perfect example is a bowling ball on a trampoline. If the bowling ball was a planet laid on a trampoline, which would be space, this planet would bend the matter within the universe. And by the trampoline explanation, by the waves of light that's coming into the atmosphere, because of the gravitational pull of the matter or material world, it affects light. And in affecting light, it causes light to bend, and which affects matter, because matter is also light. Atoms are light. Your body is molecules, and atoms. When you look at it from a microscopic level, you see that it's invisible. They're just together from gravity, not stuck together as like in a way where you can't be basically taken apart. And this is why you lose skin. This is why you can lose blood. This is why your body can literally it can shred it and detach the gravitational pull of the atoms and the cells that's keeping your body in fit form. Well, the same exotic matter that's responsible for that phenomenon is what causes this material world, space as you see it, the planet as you see it, and how it actually bends or affects this matter. And so this is how the diagrams that these astrophysicists express dark matter, that it's a matter that can't be detected by the average instrument. The only way it can be detected is light. They know that light travels at a specific speed, and that it can't surpass the speed of its natural universal law that gives it its speed, its speed to travel throughout the universe. Speed travels at 187,272 feet per second, something of that nature. Around that number, right? I didn't write it down. I had it. Don't worry. It's 186,000, 187,000, something of that nature. Now, it can't go past that. The speed light can't move faster than that particular number. Why? It's because this dark matter, or this Mafkuzat, this liquid ether that exists, keeps it in control, keeps light under a specific limit. Dark matter, on the other hand, is a material that makes sure the material world doesn't go out of the orbit or the conscious laws that are laid out for the solar system, for galaxies, meaning that the sun has as a conscious being, right? Etheric conscious being has the planets move around it at a specific speed. It doesn't alter. How did that order take place? And how is it that the planets are continuously floating in a specific ecliptical orbit that doesn't differentiate or alters? Maybe it expands at certain seasons and becomes closer. The planet does have a tilt, but it's still in a specific order. This is because of this dark matter, or Mafkuzat. Now, once it enters your body, it affects you totally different. It allows you to be, as a light being, allows you to bend space and time the same way that space distortion that affects the light. When you transform, or you're taken up, or you are, let's say, chosen to be transitioned to the heavens, what happens to the physical body? If it's affected by gravity and you have to leave, there's laws within the universe that your physical body can't travel faster than the speed of light without this physical body being, whatever happens to it, it can be disintegrate, basically, right? That's the word I'm looking for. It can disintegrate in traveling fast. Certain that's not astronauts. They have military personnel that can they get a, let's say they're taught or experience has to go through. They have to go through a routine test of traveling at Mach speeds, and you may have seen it. Certain videos, I've actually seen a video where an astronaut is in a not an astronaut, a pilot is in one of these incredibly fast supersonic jets, and he's traveling at a certain speed, and the speed of it almost pushes his face back to where his skin is literally coming off, it's flapping on the side of his face. And so this is because there's laws in travel within this material world that you can't travel faster than a certain speed without basically, like I said, disintegrating or becoming liquid. So what happens if you were to take it up with these beings, our Nathar, our ancestors, right? In order for you to travel at these great distances to get to other galaxies, to get to the heavens, you have to have this Mafkuzat in your blood in order for you to become anti-gravity as an anti-gravity being, meaning that this physical katat, this body, will not be subject to the physical material world, so you can escape it and travel through other wormholes, which is black holes, to get through other universes. If you are familiar with black holes, you know that black holes are so, the gravity pull is so incredible that light can't escape it. So light beam can travel past a black hole, and the gravity is so strong that it will suck the photons of the light within that black hole, and light can't escape. This is why you see, right, 186,272. Thank you. This is why you see a what do you call vortex at the black hole. At the edge of a black hole, you see the light continuously becoming, right, swirling into the black hole, because the gravitation is pulling the lights. It's just very strong force. Earth doesn't have that strong of a force. This force is strong. The mass is not as big as a black hole. Actually, it's very, very minute compared to the size of a black hole, right? That's why the gravitation is so strong. So the mass, depending on the mass of an object, is the stronger the gravitational pull. So on Earth, you weigh a specific weight because the gravity of Earth is pulling your mass, is attracting your physical mass to the planet, and therefore that's how you detect a weight. Other planets, you're lighter. On the moon, you don't weigh as much. Uranus, I think, one of the largest planets, right? You weigh pretty much probably twice your size. Someone fact check that. The weight. What planet are you heaviest on if you were to be there? I'm saying all that to say that in order for you to be taken out of here on this craft, on these Henuat, right, to be lifted up, right, with your rapture as a deity, a child of Panatharu, your body can't be subject to the gravitational pull of any particular planetary body, particularly Earth. And traveling past certain planets, if the timing is off, then you will be affected because you're still physical. If you travel past Mars, it would affect the speed of the travel. These crafts know that. They're aware of this technology. When you see these ET files and they expose themselves, you'll be aware of the travel capabilities. And so they use this exotic matter to travel, just like you will use this exotic matter if you're blessed to travel, not by yourself, but the guidance of our Father, Panabab Yanun, who knows the gateway. He knows the entrance of how to get out of here, and the timing and the time. And this is why the vortex opens at a certain time. You know that we've been taught every 10 years, 2003, 2013, 2023, 2033, because the time is off, that we don't know the exact date or time. Only he knows. But we touched on it in one of the episodes, Lost Records of Time. But in order to travel in these particular porthole, let's say portholes, I'm trying to use the proper word, gateways, right? To travel through these specific gateways, you can't be affected by the physical material planets within this universe, within this galaxy. Now, how do you avoid that? Well, what the Father is explaining that because these transitional metals, right, vibrate differently, this white powder affects the physical body in such a way that it rebuilds certain DNA. It rebuilds the telomeres, like specifically platinum, right? Let's see what increases distribution. Palladium. Let me just go down the list for you, right? Which I had to do anyway. Gold, the effects of this, the characteristics of these properties and how it affects your body, so you know which each one does. Gold is a powerful electric conductor, right? Because your body is a conductor, it produces electricity, right? And because gold also is a powerful electric conductor, when gold is in your body, it enhances. I'll get to that, Minkai, right? Bring that question in a little later, if you don't mind. I'll answer that. Because gold is a powerful electric conductor, it says when it affects your body, it transforms you. The word transforms in our language is gayura, right? One mortal, you, all mortals, human beings, it transforms you into an overseer, meaning that the effects of the gold itself, it takes you to an extraordinary level. And it allows the body to be a high capacitator for electricity, meaning you can receive a higher amount of energy from the heavens, from this material world, from the etherical world coming into the physical. You'll be able to receive more information. And this would allow your being, like a battery, to receive more charge. Because what the gold does, it promotes, right? It promotes this electricity, because anyone that knows that, especially electricians, they know that gold is a high electric, is conducive for electricity to pass through. It's better than gold, but it's better than copper, it's just more expensive. But gold has that capacity. Once it's in your genes, it affects you, and it amplifies your pituitary gland, right? Which scientists don't know what your pituitary gland does, but it allows you to see into the spiritual world because it amplifies its let's say hormonal secretions. Your hormonal secretions come from your endocrine system, which gives you your mood, your ability to feel, your intuition. All of those things affects your endocrine system. Well, this gold in its monatomic state affects the pineal gland, and we all know that's the master gland. That's the eye that thinks and not blink. So this pineal gland allows you to receive, because you can either be a receiver or a sender, depending on what polarity you're on. So when you're sending, right, it's a positive. When you're receiving, you're in a negative, not in a negative way, but more so the two balances that needs to take place in order for you to receive. The body has to be, electric is positive and negative. All things in the universe has a positive and negative, but not as good and bad as the religious doctrine. No, meaning neutral and positron, which is let's say progressive. That's what a neutral state and progressive state. That's how the Father explained it. Not good and bad. The person is negative doesn't necessarily mean, well, most of the time in this planet, negativity is the Adamites' mentality of negativity. But for the sake of science, right, this pituitary gland, your pineal gland, is heightened to such a way that you receive massive information and outformation from other worlds. You can communicate with other beings. You can even travel to other places in other space-time dimensions because you're able to bend space. And you'll see that time and space work together. They actually married to each other. You can't have one without the other. And you need that in order to understand how space-time distortion has to be altered for you to go. For mortal beings to go, space-time has to be altered, and we'll get into that further down. But we address gold. Now, what platinum does, that's why I wear gold, right? You see the gold. That's our color. When you see platinum compounds interact with DNA at a cellular level, right? And it says by stimulating healthy tissue, regeneration takes place of the endocrine system. So platinum regenerates the endocrine system. So any defects you have, some people have hormonal issues. Some people secrete high levels of hormones. Some people secrete lesser levels of hormones, estrogen, androgen. It's all types of oxytocin, dopamine, serotonin. There's many types of secretions that come from the endocrine system. Well, platinum metals is responsible for the regeneration of the endocrine system, your thymus and heart. Also, it stimulates and regenerates neurologically, thus promoting increased melatonin is important, right? Mental perception, and it also recalls creativity and overall focus. Now, this is what platinum does. Let's move on to iridium. Iridium as a monatomic element in its monatomic state, right? It assists the body by clarifying and strengthening the damag, the brain. So iridium affects the brain. It strengthens your brain. All of this, when you take it in, it affects your DNA in a way where you feel a strange feeling inside. And all of these monatomic elements, they work to rejuvenate your brain, as you see iridium does. Platinum assists in stimulating healthy tissue, and then gold affects the pineal gland. So that's 3. 4 is rhodium. Rhodium assists in memory recall. So if you have memory issues, vividness comes forth, even past events that you have no recollection of, but it brings back a very strong, vivid memory recall from rhodium being in your blood in this monatomic state as Mafkuzat, right? And also what it does, it creates vividness in dreams, optimal performance of neural circuitry, and it complements the central nervous system with, this is rhodium, it complements the central nervous system with photosynthesis. You are a photosynthesis synthesizing being. You take in, right, the sun's light through your solar panels. What are your solar panels? Your solar panels is your iris. These are solar panels. The Father explains that this is how your body is able to maintain a certain amount of heat within your being, because you are constantly transmitting or transforming, right, the energy from the universe, right, the energy from the atmosphere, the sun's rays, right? You are transmitting and transforming it into an energy that can be stored in your body. As I said, you are a battery, so you can store much information. But accessing the information and allowing it to be retained and recalled in the brain, you need this Mafkuzat within your being. Some beings have it on the planet. I don't know who has it. The Father hasn't pointed out who has it. The Golden Children speaks about it. So if you want that publication, email me again. So this rhodium assists, like I said, in photosynthesis and receiving nutrients from the sun. The sun is vitamin D is one of the nutrients, but it has a host of other nutrients and information, because light and heat, right, particularly rays, literally are the sun's rays. The colors are read through your body like barcodes. Each color has a distinct vibration and has a distinct frequency, and when combined, it creates images. Therefore, you absorbing this photosynthetic energy from the sun caused from fusion from its creation. We have an episode coming up in the future about the creation of the sun, the birth of the suns and the creation of the universe and worlds beyond. That's upcoming in episode 23. So look out for that. When you've taken this sun's energy, it has information there. The information is from worlds and existences of eons of our story that's stored. It hasn't disappeared. So you can taking that information and turn it into information, and you're able to teach and reach and become a deity, if you're blessed because of your hard work and your application of Wu Sabat, which is your spiritual science. So remember, rhodium is responsible for receiving the nutrients from the sun and assisting the brain stem, which strengthens your brain. That's rhodium. Now, what does osmium do? Osmium is simple. It assists in the eradication of arthritis. Arthritis is it affects the body because it affects the joints in such a way that it blocks your transmittance of information through your bones and through your fibers of your body, like fiber optics, your cells of your nervous system. And there's a fiber film over your muscles. If you look at your muscle, if you look at your muscle fibers, they look like wires or cables. That's because you're constantly transmitting information. If you were to take a knife, you all know what it looks like. You've seen a cut view of the muscle. It looks like a lot of fibers. You do the same thing with the cable. You'll see there's a lot of wires. Why? Because these are fiber optics that are running through your body, through your nervous system, that can literally transmitting billions of bytes of information to your brain every second. Sometimes it's happening so fast that you're not even able to respond enough to it, not consciously. What do I mean by that? Perfect example. When they say you touch a hot potato, right? Your nervous system and your brain is equipped to such a high level that you protect yourself before even thinking about dropping the potato. Your nervous system will make you drop the potato, so to prevent any extra harm before you think about dropping the potato. That's how fast your nervous system works. And we talked about the incredible abilities, the machinery of the brain. I read your quote. I appreciate that. Because you are supreme beings, and this is our job. The Father said our job is to restore this back to our family, our deities on the planet, the children of Panatharu. And so this osmium, when it's in your blood, to eliminate the arthritis, to prevent blockages from that transmittal of information through your cells and through your body, through your bones, through your nervous system. So osmium does that. Palladium, this is what palladium does, and palladium is incredible. Palladium increases the distribution of oxygen through your body, facilitating good circulation, does an excellent job, right, of what? It does an excellent job of repairing the liver, the kidneys. It increases stomach acids and enzyme promoting healthy digestion. Why is that important? Because your gut is your second brain, right? If your stomach and your body is not digesting your food properly, your brain can't get the proper nutrients, and it affects your mood. This is one of your seats, right? If I'm not mistaken, your pancreas has a seat. Your pancreas is one of a part of the endocrine system, yeah, and it secretes glucose and diuretic hormones to monitor your sugar levels. Yes, pancreas monitors your sugar level, but it also so it affects your stomach, which is digestion. So palladium helps, let's say, heal the liver and heal the kidneys, and affects the stomach to where you're better able to digest the foods that is going into your body. All of that affects your complete contact in order for you to maintain a harmonious healing ability, and your body can become in unison in order to transform, to turn yourself inside out. All of this is important. What is the next one? Silver. Silver is one of the most powerful, they call it one of the most powerful natural antibiotic, antibacterial, right? And antibiotics, what is the word? Antibiotic. Is it antibiotic? It just sounds funny to me, right? I don't know why. It's antibiotics, antioxidants, right? Antioxidants, antibacterial, antifungal healers, or let's say chemicals that can be placed in your body in a monatomic state. Now, I'm not saying the Father's not saying go start looking for Mafkuzat online in these places. No, because they do have the frauds online where they're selling fake Mafkuzat, fake liquid gold, fake silver. Not in that state. This is in a powdered form, and it has to only can be given to you from Panatharu. So silver contains, right? It's a natural antioxidant, removing them from the body, right? That's silver. Removing it from the body, and yeah, so removing it from the body, basically, it affects the removal of bacteria, the removal of viruses, the removal of harmful oxidants. Oh, that's what I was looking. Antioxidants are foods and fruits and vegetables and things that eliminate the oxidants in your body that corrode you. Oxidants corrode your body, corrode your cells, it corrodes your liver. It's like a rusting factor that takes place. When something oxidizes, typically it rusts. That's why you were normally green in your original state, but you become brown through rusting. Typically, when you see a plant, most plants are green. Why? Because they're taking in the nutrients from the sun and it gives them chlorophyll. Well, you were the same way. When you took in this energy from the sun, you were normally in a hue of green, depending on what planet you were on and what material dominated. Some beings were blue. Some beings you see as blue. Some beings you see as green. You see Harar, Horus, Rahar, Ketri as a green being. You see Osiris as a green hue. And this is the reason. No, you can't go get these metals. That's why I said don't go looking for them. Yes, we were different colors. Yes, the Father explained, this is why some children come out, you see them, they have yellow, some of them are green, they're blue, just depends, because in the materialization, the state of when you materialize from that etheric world, depending on what dominated, it will show in your color. And that's why our species have various hues and species across our race. You see there's 9 hues because there's 9 species of us. Okay, so these are your 9 metals, and so the effects of it, how it affects your body, is that, of course, because gold, called nibu, which is the gold powder, called nibu or imbu, is also called shepherd's bread. This is the food for the gods. This is what you talk about. This is what they were making reference to when this being was saying, "Take of my body," right? I take up my body, take up my flesh, partake of me, because in it was everlasting life. This life that was in the being was the eternal life, or the liquid gold that was passed on through from actually mother through child as well. The mother has liquid gold, Mafkuzat, in her breast that gives the child life. It rebuilds the immune system, right? Because the feminine in her completeness, she's closer to having the Mafkuzat in her genes as opposed to the man, because the feminine cleanses her body every month when the man does not. Because the man does not cleanse his body, all of his, let's say, things that he's accumulated in his genes does not necessarily is removed through the menstrual blood, because men don't menstruate. Feminine, they do, and they can cleanse themselves, which is a natural phenomenon that they were blessed with from Panataru, to make sure that their being stays clean and not mix in with mortals. The male deities have it in their blood, but they're not XY male deities as the mortal human beings have. They have an extra chromosome that gives them that Mafkuzat, either XYX or YXY, or YYY, XYY, or YYX, depending on one of those combinations. Panatharu, our deities who incarnate, have that extra chromosome, and they have that extra extended life on their telomeres, because this Mafkuzat extends the telomeres and creates what you call allows the telomeres to have extended life. When you see the telomeres on the end of chromosomes, right? Telomeres are responsible for how many times your cells duplicate. Like when you duplicate skin cells every 30 days or something of that nature, when you duplicate your hair, right? Replicate and duplicate. Yeah, you are duplicating it because you're duplicating cells, but you're also replicating cells as well from the telomeres having a certain amount of time, or it's proteins and communication in that telomere that tells the body continue to duplicate, replicate the skin, replicate the blood, replicate the nerve cells, replicate regrow the brain cells, regrow heart cells, regrow the liver. The liver can regrow. You can cut a piece of liver and it regrow itself. So these are things that you have in you. This Mafkuzat was responsible for that, and your telomeres was responsible for this particular job. What happens when your telomeres stop communicating to your body that to replicate itself? You begin to die and get old. older, right? Get older and look older, and because your cells are not replicating the way that they used to. Babies have longer telomeres because the replication communication programming there, they know it has a certain amount of time, whether it's supposed to be 100 years, 120 years, 90 years, all of that is pre-programmed in the genes. And so depending on what you do with your body determines how long your telomeres it will last for the replication process. If you damage your DNA through bad foods, through mixing in with mortal beastmen, the beastman, downgrading your genetics, mixing in with individuals who are overly lustful, some who have killed, some people have mixed in with murderers and people who have committed all types of atrocities against themselves and against natural nature, right? You would call it a sin. That's not our book, but they're natural laws that you have transgressed, and therefore that affects your DNA. Some people have kissed individuals who do drugs. This drugs affects your DNA because it goes inside. A lot of factors affect your telomere replication programming. However, there's things that reverses it, such as your chanting and praying that rebuilds DNA communication. Why? Because the tones heal. Actually, tones, that's why this Om that you hear has an effect on your being, because it aligns you with the A note, which is vital, because the A note out of the octaves of the 8, which are C, right? D, E, F, G, A, and B. These are your octave notes that are the universe uses as harmonious communication and unity between the material world. Your body becomes in tune. Once you're able to chant on the proper tone, you become in tune with the planet, and therefore, which is A. When you become in tune with the planet, C is another note that you have to become in tune with. That's your communication to your ancestors. So A is the note that we have a book called Wavelength. That's one of I meant to pull up for you all. I'll add that to the list. Add our wavelength A, right? Tone A, which allows alignment, right? When you hear the Om and you had the Magaraj on Tamaray, our father had built this communication device so you can align yourself with the A note. The C note is for communication to the cosmos. This is how you communicate to your ancestors, through note C. F was natural nature, right? And A was also the body. The body is shaped as an A, which is a tuning fork. When you look at the body, it's shaped as the letter A, right? Head down, see the A there, the body, the arms, right? And this, your body, because it's in tune with the planet, it was manifest and the monuments that we built. So there was a science behind these things in ancient Egypt. It wasn't just because we built an obelisk and it was a nice edifice. It was it was a communication device. It was a radio transmitter. So once the information from Panatharu would come down from the heavens, the radio transmission will be received by this obelisk, and that information was transferred to you for those that were partaking of these rituals to communicate with our Nathar, and some would incarnate for us. They will materialize for you. Some you could communicate directly from in your head, but that you had to be on that tone. So chanting repairs. That's why I said the father has emphasized, make sure, right? Chant. You can just email for the chants. I don't have a problem with that's for you. And I implore anyone. Looking at the chat. Okay, no problem. So this is vital for the replication. Get back to the telomeres. This is why our deities live to be 1,000 years, because as the father explained that even him in his being, because he has the Mafkuzat in his being, This is why he's able to perform the miracles that he's able to perform. This is why at times he was able to walk through walls. And he said those things that he was doing for people to know exactly who he is, it became where they wanted him to perform magic tricks. And it also almost became disrespectful, because he was healing and giving people, when he would heal a person and give them life, he was transporting a portion of his telomeres lifespan that he had, and he would give it to someone through the Mafkuzat. And there's a brother I just was talking to tonight that even spoke about how the father gave him some of this Mafkuzat to cure him from cancer. There's other people that have many different stories about it as well. But this Mafkuzat, in your being, it affects your DNA in that way, and it also expands your telomeres, so it gives you longer life, and it allows you to in perfect health. So these are the notes, right? For those that are not aware, right? These octaves on a note is do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Then you have the 8 monatomic elements. These keys, the 1, 2, 3. This is C, D, E, F, G, A, and B. Your tonic note, your supertonic note, your mediant note, your subatomic note, your submediant note, your leading note, and your octave, which is 1 through 8. Now you have sharps and you have flats. This is right now, just to get familiar with it. As things move forward, you're going to recall, you're going to come back to this episode. You'll be like, okay, I understand what was being talked about, but you just have to be able to digest. For those that are not musicians, just bear with us with this information, because the Father has written it in several books, so it's something in it that we must have. So I'm going to go give it to you in the way that he's given it, in a brief, so we can cover this particular subject. Okay, sharps. The sharps are added when you move up by a perfect fifth, right? When you move up in notes, it becomes a sharp. Flats are B, E, A, D, and G. You have your order of your sharps and your order of your flats. These are just different tones that are part of the octaves. When you hear someone playing an instrument and they're playing different a note, and then they come back with a note similar, a flat or a sharp, this is what creates an orchestra or your harmony once you're playing within these 8 keys. Now you have 88 keys on a piano. The 24th key, which is middle C, is obviously 24, right? But it's middle C because that's the middle point of the note. And this is where the balance takes place between the right and the left part of the brain, which goes into your physical makeup and how your body's in tune with the planet and the edifice on the particular ley lines. What do I mean by ley lines? These ley lines are grids that are on a planet that are correlating with the matrix of the planet. There's invisible lines that have energy grids that flow through them, that are connected to certain gateways through the heavens that have now been shifted. The gateways that was connected to the heavens, because the planet Earth was shifted, cut off the communication through the heavens. Therefore, the energy that was received from the heavenly abodes, right, from Sirius and Sirius and Orion, Egypt no longer has that connection. That's why Egypt, when you look at Egypt today, it doesn't have the technological advancements and the energy of thriving that it once did. There's no grass there. There's no communication being brought to those pyramids anymore. Why? Because the ley lines are off. And the planet Earth was vibrating on with those ley lines, and at some point our deities will come down and bring us the technology, bring us and teach us the things that we needed to learn in those particular mystery schools that were hidden around the planet in different areas. This is why when you go to certain areas in South America and through Egypt and through Tibet, many places they find these ancient temples where it looked as though there was rituals and activities taking place, and all of a sudden they look desolate and they look like they died. That's because the ley lines that they were tied to or centered on, because the planet Earth is off, they're misaligned with the gateways and the communication directly to specific stars that would send the information down to you if you were in that particular school, like the School of the Bird, where Yanun taught, right? As you would fly, these crafts would fly over, they would see particular schools of or animals that were lined or laid out in the form of sometimes considered crop circles, where you could see images where these beings, extraterrestrial beings, would travel and land because they were a part of a specific school or they were a master of a specific school. But all of that has shifted now because of the catastrophic events that took place on the planet about 11,000 years ago that shifted the planet, and therefore you're no longer communicating as you once were when your body had this Mafkuzat and you had your edifice and you were in an environment that would attract through the crystal, right? The crystal, quartz crystal, which is at a 51.3 angle, that grows on an angle structure, which is similar to the pyramid, the same structure as the angle as a pyramid. Crystal quartz grows in the same way as a silicone type of material within the warm areas of the planet, right? Our quartz, we would place quartz on the outside of the pyramids and on certain communication device to amplify the light and to trap this light. Why do we have to trap the light? Because the light was at the time a modern day computer. Excuse me. A modern day computer. And so they would harness this light within this crystal. And that's where these white magicians, white magic that practice white magic, they would say, look into my crystal ball. And then you could look and see images, because light can be captured. And once light is captured and the information can be pulled from it, this crystal could amplify the information. So you, as a being who had this Mafkuzat and the crystal in your DNA, you have crystals in your DNA, your DNA does sync. And that communication, once it's taken in from the light, which you take in light, you're taking in literally billions, trillions of years of information. You're taking billions of years of information, and that information would be in you, and you would be able to, as a deity, appear as who you're supposed to be. So, all back to these tones, these 8 octaves and these sharps, all of that was a part of your being, and harmoniously you were in tune with the universe, and therefore you will be chosen. Now, let's move forward to some of this, some other questions that people had. When you say this, let's get back to this A too, this because we didn't touch on this enough. Yes, you have crystals in your DNA. The meat stones is a crystal, but if you look at look up, there's a crystalline structure. You can Google it real quick. There's how much crystal is in your genetics, DNA. They'll tell you there's like fragments of crystal that vibrates, and it communicates with each other, and they become building blocks. Crystals build on each other. You'll see quartz crystal, they add atoms. It's similar to how DNA, chromosomes, the amino acids create specific organisms. These proteins communicate to the amino acids create organisms. All of this is designed within your genes to become who you are to become. So check that out on it. Also, yes, the meat stones are they are communicating devices as well. They keep massive amounts of information. You have your red stone, your blue stone, your green stone, and we'll get into that with the Akashic records. I can't cover it all because the Father gives us so much. I'm trying to stick to the relevance and the lecture. Right, so this A, right, in humanoids, your body, because your body is a storage capacity, has a storage capacity. A, the human body acts as a superconductor. So this vibration of A, the sound a baby makes when it first is born, is for unison. It's for us to unify as a race, to unify with our ancestors. And because our ancestors are vibrating still in the world of the spiritual world, they still have a vibration. And once you connect to that, that's how you communicate with them, right? And so it's more to it than just chanting. You're literally communicating to the spiritual world. The same way a phone picks up a communication from an invisible world that you don't see. Our ancestors exist in a invisible world that you can't detect physically, but the frequency by which you chant makes the communication. And they able to ride this wave. There's a wave of atoms. Atoms use waves to move. Well, let's say not use waves to move. Let's say atoms create waves in their movement. And beings are able to ride the wave in that etheric form. This is why how people get possessed through music, because the beings ride that specific frequency, and as it goes in your ear, so does the being. Beings don't. You think a being may have to come to you physically and enter your being just from maybe sexual contact? That's one way, but they can enter your being many different ways, particularly through blood, open cuts in your body. That's why a lot of drunks people, and we touched on this in episode 4, way back, the spiritual abode, when a person gets drunk and they fall and hit a lot of them fall and hit their head in the same place, because it's an opening, and their being's trapped open up and go through the bloodstream, etheric blood, because blood is ether, right? That's the life force. There's a spark there that ignites, that burns in the lungs, that gives conscious gases to the brain. So these beings can interfere and come into your being and affect your genes. This is why music changes your mood. When you have a certain song playing and it's love songs, it's like it makes you feel good. Some people begin to cry when they hear songs. Some people listen to rap, hardcore rap, and go out and commit murders. And look what it has done to certain generations out here that have grew up on this hip hop, hard rock music, where it's about drill music. They killing and murdering and going home and putting it right on Instagram or whatever they do. This is because these beings have infiltrated the music, and then they're riding the waves into this material world in order to affect human beings, so they can possess their body and live within them and carry out their actions or their acts within the physical body, because they need your body. They can't do it in that world. So when you get on this key of A, because your body is a natural tuning fork, pertains, right, designed for alignment on A. Now, what the Father mentions, let's read this in Patarak, right? This Patarak, so you know. Verse 17, it says, for unison, you must always be in the key of A, and the harmony, it is F, A, and C. This is Patarak, odd tones, wavelength, and A. So you'll be able to absorb, when you're on this frequency, you're able to absorb natural ether energy by way of tone A, was to assist with the monatomic elements. So once you take in this natural ether energy within your being, either through the sun's rays going into your eyes, whether the energy is going into your skin, right, through and affecting your genetics, all of it goes in your body. Your skin is open pores, open season. You put anything in your skin, within 2 minutes it's in your bloodstream. So don't think the etheric spiritual abode can't permeate and enter into your skin. It does. And this is where the person says they feel the person's aura. The energy of a person can enter your being. And that's why the Father teaches us to be aware of listening to certain individuals, and listening to gossip, and listening to slander, and listening, because it can transform you into a gossiping, slandering, disagreeable, negative being, because your mind once begins to loop in that particular mind frame, in that particular thought. And that thought is, because it's a frequency, once those beings land on the thoughts, it's very difficult for you to shake it, right? And so this is why I appreciate that, Blast, appreciate that donation, right? So this absorption of this natural ether energy is affecting you, but you have to be in the right environment. You have to do your best to make sure you focus. Try not to get distracted. It's very simple to stay focused. It's harder to do wrong, because you have to decide to go to the places you're not supposed to go. You have to decide to go do the things that you know you're not supposed to do. You have to prepare to do those things. You don't have to prepare to exist and do what's right. Your body is naturally doing the right thing. It's you that are allowing thoughts and outside influences. And this is why these actual facts heals us from within. And we're asking upon the thought of our ancestors to do that, because to help us in this walk, because we have very little time to perfect yourself in this day and time. Typically, we got 2027 to 230. I mean, there's more time to it than that. I'm just saying you have to buckle down. And this is why I'm doing my best to make sure, because this helps myself. I'm doing it for you all, doing it because I'm obligated as a student of the Father, as a son of the Father, but also to make sure my being stays perfected and do my best to make sure that I'm doing all I can, because that's doing your best, because that's the best one can do. Let's move forward to what this Mafkuzat and how it's involved with the extraterrestrials, right? So now, how does it correlate to quantum physics? How does quantum entanglement and extraterrestrial travel, how does that all tie into place? Now, well, let's get into this extraterrestrial, this quantum entanglement and how it arbitrarily, the speed. What happens is this. Thank you, I appreciate that. I see your message. Let's deal with this, because this is going to be very interesting. When you see a craft here, and all of a sudden it zips with no fuel. A lot of people do they use fuel? No. Do they gas up at a particular space station, gas fuel space station? Do they have space stops like the truck stops in America and in these on Earth, right? Or do they have Tesla recharging ports for electric crafts? How do they recharge in order to travel at these great distances? What fuel are they using? Well, they don't use fuel at all. They use this exotic matter, Mafkuzat, that exists as dark matter within the universe. And in order to be able to, let's say, defy the laws of gravity, these crafts sit in a specific pocket in space, right? That when they want to move at a far distance, they will contract the front end of the exotic matter. It literally, how they contract it, it compresses, and then the back expands. When the back expands, you have a craft here, the back expands, the front contracts. What does it have? It shifts time space distortion to propel whatever distance it needs to go forward without any energy, very little energy, and very little fuel. So it doesn't use. This is why they're able in space, where the dark matter is, the Mafkuzat is, they're able to zip, because they're taking what appears to be in the front of the craft, they're moving it from the front to the back, and it happens instantaneously where they just compress. It's like you're on a balloon, and you're sitting on a balloon, someone squeezes the balloon and he shifts you to another area, but the front top of the balloon expands, the side compresses, and it propels you in a specific speed up, or whatever the pressure is, the physics of how, the formula of how far you go depending on the pressure. I'm just saying, if you're just giving an example the best way I can. If you're sitting on a balloon, you know those exercise balloons, and someone comes and you're obviously propelled, but that's because there was a distortion or a shift. There was a shift in the volume of the air to where it moved from this space to this space, and it pushed. Well, the same thing happens with the Mafkuzat in space and how crafts travel. They will compress the front and expand the back, and they do it continuously, and Mafkuzat is inexhaustible. This is the technology that these extraterrestrials are using, and this is why the Caucasus, the Kakasu, and they're revealing these extraterrestrial files. They don't know how these craft, they say it's unexplained. At 1 minute it's right in front of us, and then it just moves. and it ends up in another. Sometimes they can end up on the other side of the galaxy at that instantaneous speed. That's how fast they move. In order to propel through black holes and to go through other galaxies, this is how they travel. But they don't necessarily travel in the physical as the material, because the gravity will affect its propulsion. So they dematerialize and become antimatter. So this Mafkuzat has the property to become antimatter because it reverses its spin to go from a physical element to a powder element to an etheric element. And this is what happens. It happens at an average, it's called it arbitrarily large speed by purely local expansion. It's all localized. The expansion of the back creates the propulsion and the compression in the front. So anytime a person wants to have a conversation about extraterrestrials, you know how these beings move and how they travel throughout these galaxies. And because space is not empty, right? These crafts, because space is not empty, in order to take you, the Father explained, first you have to go to Mars, to the moon, then you have to go to the Mars. Then you'll go with the longer crafts, which are your cylinder crafts, they call some. You see, they talk about these cylinder crafts that are like long cigar looking like shape type crafts. And then you have the Hindu, which are your crown type crafts that use anti-magnetic and anti-gravity fields within the craft that allows it to spin and cancels out the gravity north and south on this planet. So when you see crafts coming into this atmosphere and you see that they're spinning, they're just altering the gravitational pull like a magnet would do. You know, when you have a magnet and you have a magnet suspended to north of magnet here, and you can literally hover something right in the middle. That's how these crafts use magnetism to cancel out each other. They cancel the north, they cancel the south, and it literally hovers. Well, the planet Earth has a north and a south as well. And if you cancel it out, then there's no gravitation. These beings have that ability, and Mafkuzat, this dark matter, because it exists in space, they know the effects of the material world, so they have to dematerialize and become invisible, use the Mafkuzat and travel at a distant speed, rematerialize the same way they will do you. They'll take your physical body, it will dematerialize into a monatomic etheric state. They can transport you that way. They can't take your physical body this way because, again, as we explained in the beginning of this lecture, the gravity of the different planetary bodies will destroy and dismantle your physical being. It will no longer be connected through magnetism. Either the effects of no space, the effects of being in space with no gravity, or having too much gravity will affect your zero time reference because you were born on a planet that zero time reference is governed by the matrix of Earth. But when you travel to other places, you have to be recalibrated. Your physical being has to be recalibrated. Your conscious has to be brought with your physical body in a different form and then transported into your being on risk or on wherever you're going to be taken. This is what the fathers explained to us. This is in the publication. You have to know this. If you say, oh, I want to go to heaven one day to get up, you have to know what to do. So it's not something that's like far. This is the real science behind it. This is not no play toy, no kiddie game, no religious hogwash where the religious world begins to give you some spooky explanation in hopes that you just believe it and accept it with no leaving your soul and your mind so far out there, you just totally confused. No, with the actual fact, you're going to get this confirmation. And you can look this up. Look up dark matter. Look up the cancellate anti-gravity. Your astronauts are using a primitive method, the primitive method of this by, how space has a low gravity, and this is why astronauts, when you see them on ships, how they drink, right? Water just floats, because there's no velocity to affect its travel, right? Other than it from being poured from a bottle, it will float in space. That pouring will cause it to move a certain amount of inches or what have you, but it's not propelling enough to go so far distance. Well, because there's no gravity. And so how do you travel in space if there's no gravity to propel the ship from one place to the next? They use this dark matter, which is this Mafkuzat that the Father speaks about. And these extraterrestrials are aware of it, and they don't yet necessarily need fuel. They can relocate a chunk of space-time. They can relocate this chunk of space-time. They can relocate it directly to the front. And if you're here and you relocate, if the craft is here and you relocate this from the back to the front, what happens? Whatever direction you relocate the chunk of space, you'll be propelled to that distance equal in another star system or whatever. But there's rules and laws and governance, intergalactical federation on who's responsible, who comes and goes, what beings exist, what can exist, what beings can reproduce, what other beings can. Our ancestors are the overseers of all of that. Yours, not the. I'm talking about your blood, flesh deities that are connected to you by DNA. They are in control of that. That's their other jobs. The Father just gave us small areas of what their jobs are, but one of them, when you read in the book called The Nine, he explains that they are the owners of the planet, and they are responsible for what beings come in and out, and the universal laws that other species must follow in order to keep things in fit order. I know I said a lot, but this is what it is. This information has to get out. So let's move forward. Now, we're talking about this. Let's talk about this space-time distortion. Now, the reason why this space-time distortion, it needs to be explained, is because so you'll understand what space and time distortion is and why Mafkuzat is needed in your body, so you won't get caught in space-time distortion. Space-time distortion is the effects that the material world has on light. The true definition of is the warping of a four-dimensional fabric of the universe by 3 dimensions of space and 1 of time. So there's a fabric of 3 dimensions, 4 dimensions in space. 3 dimensions are the physical: height, length, width. You're in a 3-dimensional world, but time also has a dimension. How does time have the dimension? How long? Okay. Time has a dimension because if you see time as an object, right? As an object, it is a body, a planet moving or rotating on its axis. That's the most basic level. Your time is based on movement of matter. That's it. Time is not tangible in a way where you can grab time. Time is only tangible if you are in a specific space in time where the effects of the material world is recorded to give you the time of the event or the recording of the event. Meaning that on this planet Earth, because it's spinning at about 24,000 miles, right? I think it's more than that. 24,000, because 24,000 miles an hour. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's spinning at a high speed that gives you rotate on the axis in 24 hours, you get to the beginning point. If that didn't spin, you wouldn't have time. If the Earth did not spin, if it stopped right now, you would not be able to calculate time. Because how would you calculate time if everything is still? The same thing we discussed if you were off the planet. If you were off the planet and you were not in conformity with this atmosphere, and you were not in conformity, you were not on the planet, you were watching it turn, you watched it revolve, you could not age. So time is only present by the material world. The spiritual world doesn't have time as you think, because it's not governed by planets moving around the sun, etc. This is why the mind has no time. This is why your spiritual body, your soul, is timeless, because until it incarnates, or once it incarnates, that's when time begins. But your soul is boundless, and it exists in a world that is not dictated by the material world. So this three-dimensional world and time, it creates a four-dimensional fabric in space. Now, how does the distortion work? This is how it works. Massive objects, such as the sun, such as this planet, I mean, they're massive to us, but other universes, suns are way billions of times bigger than this planet, and some are billions of times larger than our sun. But massive objects bend the geometry of the universe, causing light on a straight path to what? To curve around it. Because this mass affects the gravity or the direction that the light is going. And light is what you calculate time by. Because you calculate time by a day, right? Which is light. You say daylight. What time is it? Is it daytime or nighttime? Right? Nighttime. Nighttime is the absence of what you see, the sun rays. So that is a time. That is a 12-hour time period where you're absent of light. Therefore, you're still recording it because it's absent, though it's there. The light is there, just on the other side of the planet. Now, when you have daylight, you're still logging light by the hour because you're looking at the positions of the sun. So these planetary bodies are responsible for logging what you call time by distorting light. So this is how it's distorted. It's distorted because the closer you are to a massive object, the slower time is for you, because the light that's coming into this atmosphere slows up. Therefore, your time slows up. This is why in the spiritual world, everything is faster, because there's no space distortion. There's no time limitation. The light isn't affected by a large object, because in the spiritual world, in your dream, there is no light affected by the material world, because you're not in the material existence. So there is no distortion of time in the spiritual world. You can do what you can run and fly, but you have to, your conscious has sped up to that level, but your physical can't do those things in the dream, because your physical body is still under the laws of the material world, which only allows you to run and move a certain speed. So this is how the distortion takes place. The closer you are to a massive object, the slower time passes for you relative to someone farther away. You get? So this is the definition of how space-time distortion. Now, the real world effects? Now, what are the real world effects of space-time distortion? The Earth doesn't just feel an invisible pull from the sun. It is actually traveling along the curved space, right? The curved space created by the sun's mass. The sun has created, right, a gravity pull, but is controlled. The Earth's gravity is controlled by the sun. The sun is a conscious mind that has these bodies in its orbit, the same way your brain, as a conscious being, has its cells in its orbit. So as a conscious sun has these cells or Earth in its orbit, it's being controlled by the sun's conscious decisions. Just like your brain, conscious decisions can control your body. You can think yourself into health. You can think yourself into a better mood that affects your stress level. It affects your, all of that is a conscious decision. The sun does the same thing. So, and then we'll read verse 70 of Existence, How and Why. It says, when a true Ray A sun that is going to have a solar system, this is an actual fact that I'm reading from, that's confirming this fact, this actual affirmation. Scientists are confirming it. I'm giving you your confirmation and research and read for your other sources, right? A solar system has grown enough, right? Let me go back up. It says, when a true Ray A sun that is going to have a solar system has grown enough and is strong enough, it begins to put the chaos surrounding it in order. The chaos of the creation of the sun and the solar system, it begins to put it in order once it has grown, right? large enough. And this is, somebody put that, feet per second. And this is, the Father continues, surrounding it in order by forming a magnetic core, a central sun, which is the heart of the body. This is in existence, how and why. So gravitational lensing. Gravitational lensing is another way how that shows you this space-time distortion. But remember this space-time distortion topic so you'll understand why the usage of Mafkuzat is necessary, because as nothing travels faster than the speed of light in the material world, the movement of any matter must be in a monatomic state, right? In order for the law of gravitation not to have an effect. In order for gravity not to have an effect, your body must be in a anti-gravitational state, which the monatomic elements are responsible for putting your body in. So Mafkuzat must be used in order to transport you to the children of Panatharu. Your body has to become a transformed being. Where do you get this Mafkuzat and how do you get it? Well, it's in the body of our deities. It's in the bodies of Panatharu. It's in the body in his genes, in his blood. He has the liquid gold. Other deities have it in their blood as well. Most of them Nathar. Other golden children have it in their blood. Now, you can't say, if you want more information on it, I'll suggest just email. You can get the complete breakdown. But let me read verse 67 for you so you can understand what the Father is saying about it after you take it. It says, after you drink, you feel a strange, 67. After you drink, you feel strange. You feel inside a strange feeling. As you gayor, transform back to a nabat karad, a golden child, or you let it dry into a powder. So you can drink it or you let it dry into a powder. This is transitional, so it can go from one state to the next. 68, monatomic gold, liquid gold, Amun hidden, Nub, right? This is the Father's name. Listen to his name. Amanub Re'ah, Reye Ak Fatah. You've heard that before, but this is the secret breakdown of his name, right? Amun means hidden. Amanubi, when you see it in a lot of the scrolls, older scrolls, you see Amanub Ra'ak Fatah Zetwi, Amanub Ra'ak Fatah Zahutwi. You had those variations, but Amun is hidden. Nub is gold. Reye is the sun, right? Ether. Fatah means to open you up. To what? To your etheric transformation. This is his job, one of his jobs. And in his name, you'll see Amun Nabab Re Ak Fatah, Ak, which is ether, natural ether, Ak, which is a double portion, natural ether energy, right? Ak Nashat, which is energy, right? You have Nabab, Amun Nabab Re Ak Fatah, right? 69. Where your body, this is what he says, where your body transforms to a light being, a etheric being. 70. Mafkuzat called the Bennu, which is our symbol. The Bennu bird, the phoenix bird, is our symbol. Exotic matter with the ability to bend space and time, right? And what happens when you bend space and time? Well, this is the only way you can transport. The only way to get up out of here is that the space-time distortion. You have to avoid that distortion where the gravity of a body affects the travel, affects the light. You have to be in another type of state so those laws don't affect you. And what happens is beings can be transported. That is gravitational resistant matter. The flesh being be transformed into ether, and then you're able to take the trip to where we need to go. Now, the Father has also elaborated this in Zayet, pardon me. Like I said, this is not a long lecture today. This is just covering that topic because some people were asking about it, and I wanted to get it out there before other people try to take credit for it, and you know who it came from and who is responsible for it. So, any questions? I appreciate you all tuning in for those that stayed with us. Any questions? You could put it in the chat. I know there was a few earlier, and some people had emailed a few questions. And I hope it's clear. I hope that was a explanation. Are you there? The people there? Okay. I don't see a response. The chat is quiet. So any questions, put your questions in. Oh, let me make these announcements now, because people have been emailing about the vote. Let me tell you, the freedom of Dr. Malachi Z York is not, as long as we operating, is always moving forward. Always. And just because you may not hear much at the time, doesn't mean we're not working. Now, with the vote, email anything, email any questions you have. But when it comes to the voting in our nation, we are the United Nubian Nation, the United Nubian Nation of Sabaeans. There's Sabaeans in our nation. There's Nubians in our nation. Nuwapians, some say Nuwabians, some say Nuwapians. It's all the same. You all are part of, acknowledge our father, our master teacher, our Manthar in flesh, right? His Excellency Panabab Nun, right? And so him as our president and chief, right, which is one of his titles, we're going to vote for his freedom. We're going to vote for, that's something that we're going to do. I have to get the site up, and it's going to launch on June 26th, right? June 26th. Yeah, I know. It's been a long time, 24 years. You know, May 8th just passed. So you all just be mindful that the website will launch the 26th, which is our Independence Day, and it's our Savior's Day. It's our Father's birthday, right? June 26, 2026. We're going to launch the site. You'll be able to vote. You'll be able to get all of the information you need. The Now or Never campaign is still moving forward. It's just a lot of work and a lot of organization. And I'm doing all that I can with all of the time and all of you all support. So we hope that you supporting, emailing, getting the publications, right? Supporting the bookstores, making sure you stay chanted and prayed up, because you're going to need it in this day and time. You're going to need all the protection you can. The devil is going crazy because he's lost control of the minds of the people. There's no more respect for him and his so-called authority. What he's done to the planet last 6,000 years, his religion is failing. His governments are failing. Human beings are turning back to the turning inside out, which is a part of the transformation. You're going to see people become devils right in front of you. They're not going to be able to hide it. And you're going to see people become gods. You're going to see certain of us transform to become deities, because we're applying what the Father has given us and we're using our time wisely. So, question. So there's nowhere to get the gold, no particular store. No, they don't have it. Do not. I need to put the disclaimer inside of the chat, inside of the description. Do not go seeking liquid gold from anywhere but your deities. They have the true formula. I'm not speaking about for these other companies. I don't know what they're doing. I don't get involved with that, because a lot of this is how they used to grind up the mummies of our ancestors. This is why they would go tomb raiding. Tomb Raider, the movie, was about them trying to find the secret formula. They always would look, you see them going into the tombs with the flashlights, looking on the walls and trying to figure out. They would take the mummies up. They would grind the mummies into like a gelatin type of paste and drink it. The Europeans was doing that. Most of the foreigners were doing that. This is why they would go to grab why do you think they would take the mummies? Because they were looking for the extended life from this elixir of life that our deities have in their genes. And you have to be selected to be given this. This is why there was initiations and to test to see, look, what do you think a 24-year test of being absent of what you think the Father is gone and he's not, right? A lot of people, your loyalty was tested. Your ability to stay focused was tested without being in the front of a deity, right? With you just performing and transforming yourself, because you as a deity, you have to have the programming in you to become what you're supposed to become by natural nature. trees and plants and things are grown to be what they are by natural nature, not by someone converting to a particular doctrine and all of a sudden you're just this beautiful righteous person because you took a shahada, or because you read the New Testament you become a person that's just so illustrious and righteous. No, that because they're not working on themselves. And this is why the religious world is collapsing, and people are realize that these are regular human beings with more defects and flaws than anyone else, trying to play righteous and make everyone feel guilty because they're not on the level of a so-called pastor or so-called preacher or so-called imam or so-called rabbi. You're not up here, therefore you're not as righteous because you don't read. No, that's all garbage and it's lies. So this, you have to put in the work to transform yourself and watch your mind. Stop allowing every thought to come in and penetrate and alter your course. Just because your thought comes in doesn't mean you have to go off and take your body and follow the thought to wherever it's going, or follow. That's not what happens. You have to learn how to control these thoughts and sit them down and say, all right, yeah, I see you. That's not what's going to take place today. Right? Because these beings, you don't know who they're coming from. These influences that you're getting from music, that you're getting from television, that they're now putting DNA, they're using this nano technology to put in food. They have microscopic cameras they putting on top of mosquitoes, and they have nano fabrics where shirts can become a processor. Shirts, fabric in a shirt become a literal computer processor. That's a fabric, and it's like a shirt that you wouldn't even know is actually a computer. So they're going into these nanobots and nanotechnology. They have nanobots that are going now into the arteries and removing blood clots. Look this up. This is technology that they have that some got from extraterrestrials. Others had advancements through studies. But you as a being, you have to look at yourself in that manner and say, watch the psychology of the abuses and the effects that it's taken on your mind that allows you to be carried and pulled in specific directions. Before you know it, you done scrolled 3 hours on social media and you were supposed to be taking the garbage out and doing laundry. This is how the devil has allowed to, he's there pulling at your mind. So sometimes you have to just cut yourself off from that and go in and perfect and talk to your spiritual self. Get acquainted with your own being. That's the transformation, that you have to become well aware of have a great relationship with yourself. Stop being so hard on yourself. I was telling one of the brothers to stop being so hard on yourself because you don't know this information, or you don't know the affirmation yet, or you're just a newcomer. Right? A lot of the times we feel like, damn, where have I been? What have I been doing? No, it's not that. You had other schools you were being guided in order to perfect yourself, so you could take the affirmation and apply and be able to better yourself, because now you're more mature and you realize that your decision making is not the best. Sometimes you have to say, I don't make best decisions in relationships. Tell yourself that. Don't try to make it seem like you got it all together, because you won't find what you need to fix. Sometimes it's okay to say, I'm not the best son. I'm not the best father. I'm not the best husband. I'm not the best, whatever it is that you're working on. You can't just start off thinking you're the best at it, because you have no room for the perfecting part. And that's the blessing in this spiritual path, that you have the ability to perfect yourself. I see your question. When you were talking about the vortexes, did they always open up on the years that in on 3, or was that just because of, yes, okay, the Philadelphia experiment caused the shift to take place. But I don't want to answer prematurely. The vortex to answer the question, yes, for those that need to get the Man from Planet Risk is in there. He speaks about this vortex opening up. Okay, maybe I could have just... He speaks about the Philadelphia experiment. It opens up, and it was thrown off 3 years, but it's always been every 10 years on the 2000, 1943, 1953, 1963, 73, 83, 93, 2003. Yes, from far as I know, it's always been on that. Now, there's different types of vortexes. When I was speaking of a vortex, there's There's material vortex, there's etheric vortexes, and then there's cosmological vortexes, which is your black hole. I was speaking of the black hole vortex of the black hole. Now, maybe I did mention vortex within the traveling and intergalactic and interspatial travel. However, what the Father explained is that in these vortex, they're beings that's responsible for keeping the traffic correct and making sure other beings don't go in and out of wrong portholes. There's literally a lattice of conscious beings that is responsible for dictating and governing how beings travel in and out of these vortexes, because these gateways, if you throw the wrong, if you can go through a vortex and meet your past self or meet your future self. If you do, you'll cancel out yourself, because what's the law of physics? Two beings or two material existences can't exist volume in the same space and time. They will cancel each other out. Well, that's what happens. And because you have biological or emotional connections to the material world, traveling through these vortex, your connection, your etheric connection to a loved one or to a family member or even to a house or to a car, you can literally affect your whole existence and not make it, because you have an attachment to the material world. And this is why the Father has taught us in our disciplines to detach from things that are not assisting or not helping you to move into transformation. This is why you may notice things are getting out of your life. Things are being removed from your life. Why are people being removed from your life? You think it may be you. It may be you. It may appear to be you, but it also may be a protection in order for you to transform. All of a sudden, you get into the doctrine and you're trying to find out about the actual facts, and your girlfriend is looking at you crazy. She's not ready, so therefore the evil in her decides to move on and go about her business. And you feel at loss because you lost something. No, you gained. You gained space in your emotional body and space in your mental and space in your brain in order to get the right information that's needed for you to make the transformation. Your Nathar may be protecting you from these beings by removing them, and you think it's a tragedy. It's not always that way. So can't occupy space, exactly, can't occupy same space and time. You know, certain things I be trying to pull from places in order to kind of relate a message but I appreciate the chat and y'all participation. Now, wow, I appreciate become a member. Welcome to the Nubian Nation support. You all can be a part of that. And you can all donate. If you don't want to know how to assist in the campaign, I think there's a way you can give a donation or something there. I don't know. I'm not too familiar with it, but it does show up when people donate. You can put campaign donations. Oh, someone asked, when am I coming back? West where? No, not right now. I have too much. It's too much for me. I'll be distracted over there. So it says, okay, question. Someone asked, if is the Space Force that the U.S. have created fighting against extraterrestrials? No, hell no. Excuse my language. They can't fight against nothing. The galactic war happening, they're not a part of the galactic war. They can't fight. That Space Force is just possibly, I'm saying the most possible method is just to be able to try to negotiate the harvest or try to negotiate a safe space where certain of the elite won't get eaten. But these beings are coming back. They don't look at this planet like human beings look at this planet. They don't look at this planet like as if, oh, this planet is so lush. Not the planet, the physical planet. I'm talking about the human beings and things in the Adamite seed and how they destroyed the planet and what they've done to the planet and taught the activities that they've introduced into people's minds. Extraterrestrials are looking at it as useless. They created them for food. The same way you breed animals for food. They're breeding chickens for food. You're breeding cows for food. This is going on right now. You don't know about it. All you are concerned about is eating, right? But you don't know the breeding process and the genetic engineering that's taking place in these laboratories that's trying to meet the demands of the food supply. So they have to genetically modify and alter. Well, that's the same thing that was done with these Adamites. So this Space Force is looking to me now, unless the Father brings an update. I haven't read anything from the Father. I would give it to you. And matter of fact, that's what we're gonna cover quite a bit. I got these updates for y'all. That's why we're never gonna run out of content. This is all updates from years that we're gonna go over. So we're gonna have content. I mean, for the next whatever time period. These are updates as well. And I have much updates on my computer. Because I try to keep all of the updates from the Father over the last 24 years. What you're reading, what we're teaching is the actual facts, Master Secrets, Patrat. However, there's other updates from his visits that came down week after week after week, year after year after year. It's incredible. So I don't think they don't have the technology to fight. First of all, extraterrestrials look at these these little metal pieces of metal rocks that come out of guns. That's like metal rocks to them. There's nothing. They look at it as a play toy, the same way you look at a child with a styrofoam bullet, right? They look at it like, oh, look at these humans with these little metal sticks that trying to kill someone that's shooting metal rocks out of it, right? They look at the technology of that's why they're making sure that no one starts a nuclear war. They're monitoring that. They're monitoring these wars and conflicts. They're making sure nothing gets out of hand. They don't have no control. The beings that are ready to eat them are on their way back. And that's what the whole panic is about. Because it says that we talked about that. We'll cover a complete harvest lecture. We have so many lectures to cover. It's like kind of difficult to keep up with all of it because it's so much. But I'm trying to do my best for y'all because the way the Father has given us so much, there's no way that you could even master all of this in one lifetime. It's just too much. So we just do our best to make sure. But let me give you some of the episodes that's coming up. It says the publications. It says, oh sure, thank you, Pot. The publications and things that's needed, we email. So this is the next episode. I think we have it. We've been going 2 hours. I think this is one of those episodes that got to sit in because you don't want to put too much. 2027. Excuse me. Hold on 1 second, please. My sinus is acting up again. I don't like sniffling in your ear, so I mute up if I'm having sinus issues, right? But what happens is this: 2027. That's when the encounters are going to take place of these beings. However they're going to show up, you don't need to be on their radar. You don't need to be on their radar. You don't need to be on their frequency. You get off their frequency because if you're on their frequency, they're going to just take you right up and eat you for food, destroy whatever they want to do. They're not looking at human beings the same way you do. The same way, again, I keep going back to this chicken thing because on these chicken farms, you got regular people drinking coffee while millions of chickens are going down the assembly line. Millions of pigs are going down the assembly line. And they're just doing regular everyday job, gutting them, cutting them, skinning them, pulling out their teeth, removing their bowels, chopping their feet off. When they do these chicklets, I think they keep the female chicklets and do away with the male. They just take the chicklets from the chicken farm and they just grind them up in this big old vat, spin them around, and people are laughing and joking while animals are crying to death, going to death. Slaughterhouses, the way they just kill cows, they force cows to walk because if cows don't walk to the slaughter, then they're considered, I guess, FDA unapproved, but they're covered in feces, they're covered in urine, they have all kinds of diseases, right? When you look at these animals, every disease humans have, animals have, cows have. Cows have a form of HIV, they have cancers, all animals have these different types of diseases. And they don't go to the hospital to cure them when they feeding them to you. They have pus all in their veins, diseases all in their eyes, tumors all in their brains. They just kill them, cut them out, gut them. The animals are crying. They shoot them in the head. They go at lunch. They go crack a beer and have a joke. Extraterrestrials look at you all the same way you do to human beings. So don't get flabbergasted because they don't look. They're not your God concept. That's the God concept that destroyed and made you all feel like, oh, well, why these beings don't care for us and love. That's religion. That's what you've been taught. Your God does, cares about you and loves you and all of that. When that you don't see that type of behavior on the planet, and these beings are responsible. They look at you the same way. So it's just a very real reality that we have to get prepared for. And the Father is trying to save you all, trying to save all of us, the African race, from being up under the Adamite and his judgment and his God, his deities who've abandoned him, right? And who is coming back to cast judgment on them and harvest them up. Some will be eaten. That's why they talk about the fire being thrown in a vat and being boiled in water and for an eternity, etc. This is their behavior. So these Anunnaki, these beings that are coming back for their harvest, this is what they're going to do. The Anunnaki are the ones that's doing it, not Inky seed. That's a lot of questions that people have asked about the Anunnaki. I probably have to do an episode just strictly on that again with detail, more and more detail, because that's a big topic that's been going around. And I think only it's people. We have the affirmation from our Father, from the Father, him as a being from Inky, as a son of Inky, as Ningizida or Galzu. He's not from Enlil seed. So Enlil seed is the reptilian part, or the beings that are the bloodthirsty, flesh-eating beings. That's not Inky side. Okay, so just to be clear, just to make sure we are aware of that, for those that are new, who didn't catch the other episodes, right, or hasn't read the books, we have the books for you, so just email. But our Father, Galzu, Ningizida, is not of the seed of Enlil. Our Father's seed etheric being as Ningizida is from Inky and Heset. Heset is a Nathar. She was a being of the Nathar. So one of the Anunnaki's sons of Anu mixed in Inky, right? Nudimud mixed in with Heset, who was a female deity of the house of Hathor known as Heset, and gave birth to a being who was part Nathar and part Anunnaki. This is why he's able to explain to us about the Anunnaki and the evil seed of those beings. And the what do you call it's a word I'm looking for. The abominations that they introduced to the Adamite seed was taught through religion. And this is why the white magicians or the witches of Babylon was able to cast a spell on you through that seed to control the garden at U and keep them from worshiping their gods, because they want you on their frequency so they can use you the same way. Fortunately, the plan was to send a being who was thrice times great, or had a threefold nature or threefold being, Yanun, Ningizida, and Zahutwi, who was the son of Reye and Reyetet. That's who Zahutwi is. That's Tehutwi. That's Thoth. That being also incarnates inside of the body or Katat of Malachi, Kubina, Zodak, York, right? Or Kran, right? And his Ghanaian, from his bloodline, his royal bloodline, his body was, right, through natural nature, designed to be from a specific seed of El Mahdi, right? Muhammad Ahmed of 1845, and a mother, Miriam or Mary York, Miriam Okran, right? The mother, blessed mother, who was born in Ghana, right? From the York family, still here, and his bloodline to give birth to this deity in flesh on June 26, 1945. So his body was a specific design, and then the beings that speak through him as an incarnation, as an avatar, Baba Yanun, who's a Riskian, who has 76 trillion years of knowledge. He's an etheric conscious being, right, that exists within a certain density of the etheric realm. And we talked about that in the last lecture. So that those three, Trismegistus, or they call him thrice times great in the Greeks. That's one of the names that they gave him, this being. He has those three tones. And that's why he's able to speak and teach of Egyptian information about the stars, about Sirius. Zahutwi's seat is in Sirius. And this is where they come through. That's a gate to come to the planet Earth, because you all needed to be reawakened in this next cycle. And he was asked to come here to assist in raising you all up as a savior to the African race, to give you your information back, right? To give you your information, your story back. So this is what the design. When we speak about the Anunnaki, we're just giving you the biblical gods and the Lord so you can be aware of who they are. No one is casting judgment. A lot of times, because religious doctrine teaches you to the moment you hear a thing, you have to judge it. And this is a part of the spell, to say, oh, the moment you see a person, if they're wearing a specific garb, then you're like, okay, they must be a Muslim. Or you judge people. That's just, I don't know, you picked it up from the Adamites religion, because they judge and tell you who's righteous, who's not righteous, who's a sinner, who's going to hell. You hear it, competitions, it's the same thing. So you create this in your mind instead of just taking the information and digesting it without applying your own thoughts to it. Just get the facts of it, or continue to learn. Don't just say, I see someone in the comments, so are you telling me the Anunnaki are, just because they didn't, they had to look for gold, they can't be that intelligent? I'm like, that's not reasonable, because there's technology that exists that every being doesn't know about. And extracting of gold, the technology, what technology can extract gold from natural nature, from the earth, without its transforming to a transitional metal. So you have to get the whole story before, right? We all have to get those, not just you per se. We all have to get the whole story, because there's only one being that's able to inform us about what exactly happened, and that's one of those Anunnaki, and that's Ningizida, the son of Enki. He can tell us. So no one can come tell you if they're not in contact with these beings. We are in contact with the extraterrestrial beings. This is why we have the affirmation. Like, it's not that it's easy to say that now, because people down at the Mukasa was saying, yeah, we're in contact with extraterrestrials. Now people are like, wow, what about ours? So yours are here. Yours we have a job to get this information to you, because the being that's responsible for teaching us gave us this job. Fortunately, we were raised to do this. And that's what we were literally, for my whole life, I didn't know at what point we'll be able to express this type of information, right, without seeming crazy. Because right now, if 20 years ago talking this, it would be like, man, them Nuwapians, they talk about extraterrestrials, and it's like, yeah, now it makes sense. Now people, but it's okay, because everything has a season, and we're not judging. So don't judge when we talk about these Anunnaki. There's all types of species that are not. These beings are not religious. They don't have no clue about what the religious doctrines that you've been placed under a spell by. They don't have the emotional connection that you have towards a God that you've never seen, or a book that you never saw who wrote it. You never saw the autograph, the originals of. They don't see that as intelligent. So don't judge extraterrestrials or these beings by the same standard of human beings. The same way, it's just most human beings are hypocritical anyway, because they'll say, oh, that's wrong. That's wrong for them to harvest human beings, and then they go order 4-piece thighs from KFC. And you ordering a thigh. You do know that, right? So you're saying you like the thigh, you like legs, right? You do know that, right? So you do like animal parts, right? So we say extraterrestrials like humans are animals, right? Yes. They like certain types of animal parts. Their preference is humans. Ah, that's disgusting. You didn't say that when you was eating a pot roast, which is a cow's butt. You didn't say that. So that's why human beings, this religious doctrine has made you so hypocritical. Your moral standing is convenient when you want to do things that desirable and pleasurable to you, then it's okay. But when we say that the Father sees that these extraterrestrial beings are coming back for the other white meat, it's difficult for you to know. You have to expand your consciousness so you can be able to grow and grab this what the Father has given us, and that's it. So that is all on that lecture. I hope you got a clear understanding of Mafkuzat and this exotic matter, and we'll retouch on it at another point, another time. Of course, we have so many lectures to cover. The next lecture is, if you have any questions, reminder, please, have you read the Emerald Tablets? No, I haven't. I haven't read the Emerald Tablets. Not yet. There's a reason why you asked me that. Let me give you, Gentry. Let me give you the next 3 lectures that's coming up next month. Designer Genes. Yes. They have 2026 brand new updates. Yes. We have 2026 updates. Do you have any updates? The question is, do you have any updates, 2026 brand new updates from Baba? Yes. Yes, we do. And we're going to give, I probably will have to do more lectures, maybe a video out in between. I'll put up a video and go over some updates. So you all can get it. I can get it out to you as quick as I can. But as long as you're supporting, then I'll do my best. As long as you supporting the channel, sharing it, and we can grow, then I'll do my best to do more. And I'll always do more, because that's just what we're supposed to do. Natural nature gives us more than what we deserve. A lecture on the name in the book of life. A lecture on the name. Oh, the names of the book of life that are written in the book of life? Okay, sure. We'll cover, let me give you next 21, episode 21 is Designer Genes, Extraterrestrial Designs and Genetic Engineering. We're going to get into the type of genes that's used for specific beings and deities. Different beings on the planet, the different species. You're welcome. The Tree of Life is 22. That's going to be on June 19th. The Tree of Life, Designer Genes is June 9th. The Tree of Life, Everlasting Life, the knowledge of good and evil, and the fruit of the tree of the garden. That's going to be really good. That's episode 22. And 23 is the birth of the sun, creation of the universe, and worlds beyond. That's 23. So we're going into an area of science that you won't find on YouTube anywhere. You won't find on no one's platform. All right. So I'll land with that. I appreciate you all. What about something copper? Hold those questions. Email them to me if you can. I'll do my best. I appreciate you all's email. I appreciate the communication. I appreciate you all reaching out. Don't be hesitant. If you're new, you just tuned in, whether you're new, been around 30, 40 years, we all are still students of the Father. And we want to make sure that we make sure his doctrine gets out to the world. And the more you learn, trust me, the more information, the more affirmation and questions your brain will grow and expand. Tech Elder, appreciate you. Elder School, very powerful. Appreciate that. Thanks for tuning in always. Thank you all for, make sure you get email for flags. You email for your patches. We do have Nubian Naturals. Our soaps, we have soaps right from the continent. We have shea butter right from the continent. All Nubian Naturals. Email for them. We have them right there in the U.S. They can be shipped to you. Make sure you support. You get Nubian Naturals. It's all natural, right from the continent. You want to put the continent in your body. You know about intake. Once it goes in your skin, Africa will be in your genes. Get transformed. Get the Nubian Naturals and black soap. get our flags, email for the publications, and I'm giving out, if you listen to it all of this way, you get a free book if you email. So you listen for 2 hours, that's your gift. I appreciate you all and love you all more than you know. And make sure you comment, share, and make people join, because we're the fastest growing podcast and channel in YouTube. Appreciate you. Wadu. Enjoy your evening.